Hey guys! This week I read a book called The Patron Saints of Nothing by Randy Rebai. I am so excited to tell you guys about this book. I found it so engaging, it was so interesting, and I think that there is something in this book that everybody will like, and it'll appeal to all different kinds of students and just anybody that likes to read. This book is a huge deal. I can't stress that enough. This is one of the few books, if any, that actually has a Filipino protagonist that narrates the story, and one pictured on the cover. So Rebai was reading about what's going on in his country under the President Duterte, who has claimed this war on drugs. And basically anybody that is found to be selling drugs or using drugs can be killed on site without any sort of due process. And so he wanted to know what right he had as a Filipino who lives in America to voice his opinion about the injustices that were happening in his country. And he had to be careful as well, because in that country, you know, the idea of Big Brother is always watching you. If you're speaking out against their government, it's actually really dangerous. But anyway, he wanted to talk about this injustice that he saw that was happening, and along the way, he kind of used it to explore things within his identity, as far as ethnicity, his nationality, his class, his faith. So just all those kind of different ideas in the many layers that this story has. The novel centers around our protagonist. His name is Jay, and he actually lives in America, but he is Filipino. His dad's Filipino and his mother is American. And he is a senior in high school. He just kind of really doesn't know what he wants to do with his life, just coasting. He's an okay student. Just everything is just kind of normal teenager. And he gets news that his cousin June has died in the Philippines, and he was very close to his cousin. And when he starts asking questions like what happened, none of his family wants to talk about it. And so he starts doing his own research. He gets some mysterious messages that say, you don't know the truth about your cousin. And he just gets really intrigued, and he wants to find out what happened. So he asks his dad if he can go visit the Philippines under the guise of wanting to learn more about himself. And when his dad agrees, he goes to do some investigating of his own. Like I said, along the way, he just starts to find out more about himself as well. So it's kind of reflective about the experience that the author described, what he wanted to know. I'll move into, what I really enjoyed about this book. First of all, the book is very plot driven. So the last few novels that I've talked about have been very character based, kind of slow moving, because it's just really establishing the characters. But this novel is a page turner because the plot is driving you forward. You want to know what's going to happen. You want to know what happened to June, and you're just kind of experiencing everything along with Jay. And so it's interesting, and it's a page turner. I thought that was really cool. Also, there's so many layers that I loved. And so if you want to think really hard about some of the concepts that are introduced, you can, but it's also not a very heavy read. So the author does a really good job of subtly introducing these themes that are sometimes taboo or just really heavy, like when his friends consider him as white, even though he's Filipino. He just kind of makes a comment that the default race being white is strange to him, and from there they go on. They don't really harp on it. So things are just discussed in conversation, just kind of in passing, and so you can think about those things several times and get really deep if you want, but you can also just choose not to go there and just really enjoy the book for its plot, because it's got a great plot. Another thing I really liked is the simplicity of the writing. It's just easy to follow. It's not going to be one that's very difficult. You're definitely not going to be looking up words as you go. You're just enjoying it along the way. A lot of really beautiful quotes and ideas, things that are symbolic and figurative language that are just kind of sprinkled throughout the text in just the right spots where you're enjoying the story, and then you come across a really cool sentence or passage where you just kind of have to stop and appreciate how beautifully written the sentence or the idea is to think about. So I really did like that about this novel. As far as audience, this book is really for everyone. It's a young adult novel, but I'm an adult on most days and I loved it. I thought it was a great book because the plot was just really interesting and I really liked hearing about the different culture and the ideas. So I would definitely recommend this book for anyone, but if you're a high school student, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, any of you guys could read and understand and take something from this book. That being said, if you're an AP student, I don't think that this is a great selection for a Q3 because it is more of a plot-driven novel and not as complex in terms of character. So this book for you would be something that's more of a fun read, or if you are going to be looking at the structure of the plot. So that's all I have for this week. I really hope that you consider choosing this book. And if you do, I would definitely like to talk to you about it. And you can message me or comment below and we can have a chat. But until then, I hope that you are reading something and you're enjoying it and it's something great. So we'll see you next week.